Today's patio chat is being brought to you locally by Westridge Furniture in Delphus. See it all at your finer outdoor furniture store.
We're going to learn more about a specialized area at Mercy Health St. Rita's. It is the Pediatric Rehab area. And joining us today, we've got two therapists to tell us more. To my immediate left, Kelsey Reddick, speech-language pathologist. And then to her left, Tori Gerdeman, an occupational therapist. So thank you both for coming today.
Thanks for having us.
Okay, so you have two different backgrounds, but I guess you can specialize and help with kids and pediatrics. Tell us more about that.
So I went to school at Eastern Michigan, and they kind of give you a choice between, going a different direction if you want to work with adults or peds. And it kind of got placed in my lap that I'm going to do pediatrics. I never really got experience with adults, and I'm kind of happy about that because I love it. So
right, yeah.
So
exactly.
I did an internship at an outpatient rehab in Detroit, and then when I saw the opening for the outpatient rehab for pediatrics in Lima, I just knew that was where I needed to be. So
yeah. You wanted to work with kids too, or what's your story?
Yeah, so I went to the University of Toledo, and I did have a fieldwork experience in outpatient pediatrics. When I first was a new grad, I actually got hired in with adults in the hospital setting, so I worked there for 2 years, and then an opening came up in outpatient peds, and I just really loved working with the kids. I love how creative we can be with playing with them and reaching their goals, so that's what I went into. So I've been there for about a year.
Yeah, I was wondering, with kids, is it harder, or do you just have to, like you said, play? I mean, I don't know. How do you work? Yeah, work with a kid to make sure that they flourish and get on their way.
I mean, that's that's how kids learn. They play, and we always encourage play. And I think it's a really rewarding job. It really is.
It is.
But thinking about what kids do at school or what they're doing at home, getting outside, exploring, that's how kids learn. And I just think it's a really fun experience for them. And the adult side, you're more working on function. I mean, you could speak to that more, but like functional living things, how to live independently, where kids don't really have to have that stressor of learning how to live independently. Their only concern is to learn and play in their own environment.
Right, So I mean, what kind of conditions do they, break a leg, or are we talking speech therapy? I mean, what kind of things go on in the unit?
So the majority of our caseload is autism spectrum disorder.
Okay, all right.
We do have some cerebral palsy. As an OT, I will see emotional regulation issues or difficulty with sensory processing. We do touch on picky eating. That's a big one that we do work on. We look at what the kid is eating and if they're getting all the nutrition that they need. And then other things like fine motor weaknesses and visual motor weaknesses as well.
So what's the new space like? I guess it opened in January of 2022.
Yeah.
But, how has that changed maybe helped your guys' jobs and get things done?
So I've been there for 6 years. So I was down in the old space, and it was roughly 1,000 square feet. We basically doubled it or tripled it to 3,000 square feet.
Oh, nice.
So that's given us an ability to grow our program a lot. So we went from, when I was downstairs, there was one physical therapist, one occupational therapist, maybe a couple, maybe two therapists for speech. And now we've grown exponentially, and it's allowed us to reach a lot more kids. I think we have a lot more ability to grow our program, and how she said feeding, we're working on feeding. We have this big gym where we can get kids in and work on those gross motor, fine motor skills. It's allowed for a lot of growth.
Right, yeah. And I guess that would be important. I mean, you can tell you guys love kids. So it must be important to have the facility and the space to be able to help the kids in the way that they need.
Right, yeah. And we have bigger gyms, so we can do big obstacle courses and really get them moving and working on some of their gross motor skills along with sensory processing things.
Now, I don't know if you guys know this, but I mean, do you have to have a doctor recommend that you come to the pediatric unit?
Yes. So I always can recommend, if you have any concerns, reach out to your pediatrician or the family doctor and let them know that you would like to have your kid evaluated for speech or OT or physical therapy. I think the great thing about our program, or where we're at, is we're all together in one room, and we are really good at making our own internal referrals too. So if I see a kid and I'm like, I think Tori needs to see this kid for, you know, maybe some sensory processing disorders, we're really good about doing some internal referrals too, but always reaching out to your doctor is the first step.
Well, and I think as a parent, Tori, people are afraid, you know, my kid's got to be all right, you know, but it sounds like there's help available. So reach out, right? Because you guys can help them and catch them up and move them along the way.
Correct. The earlier, the better.
Yeah.
We really push 0 to 3. That's where we really want to see the kids because we can really work on their habits and get good habits started. But of course, we see kids after 3 too.
Sure,
But earlier, the better.
Yeah, exactly. All right, some great stuff to hear that you're helping kids in our area. Thank you both for coming today.
Yeah, no problem. Thanks for having us.
All right, don't go away. Austin's in next with the weather forecast.